In the heart of a bustling city filled with skyscrapers, luxury cars, and people rushing to their destinations, lived Evelyn Hartley. She wasn't just any ordinary resident. She was the daughter of Richard Hartley, one of the wealthiest industrialists in the country. The Hartleys were known for their opulent lifestyle, extravagant parties, and connections with some of the most influential people in the world. But Evelyn was different from what everyone expected her to be. While her friends flaunted designer clothes, attended high-profile events, and traveled the globe in private jets, Evelyn preferred simplicity. She found joy not in material things but in small acts of kindness and meaningful human interactions. Evelyn had grown up surrounded by wealth, but it never truly made her happy. Her childhood memories weren't filled with toys or lavish vacations. They were about moments spent with her late mother, Margaret. Margaret Hartley had been the emotional anchor of the family, someone who taught Evelyn the importance of empathy and humility. Every Mother's Day, Evelyn remembered how her mother would wake up early to bake cookies for neighbors or spend hours volunteering at local shelters. Those lessons stayed with Evelyn long after her mother passed away, shaping her into the person she became. On this particular Mother's Day, Evelyn decided she didn't want to attend the annual gala her father hosted at their sprawling estate. It was an event where guests wore expensive outfits, sipped champagne, and exchanged polite but shallow conversations. To Evelyn, it felt empty, a celebration that lacked the warmth and spirit her mother always cherished. Instead, she chose to spend the day quietly, reflecting on her mother's memory and doing something thoughtful for someone else. That morning, Evelyn dressed casually in a pair of faded blue jeans and a soft gray sweater. She picked out a bouquet of fresh daisies from a florist near her apartment. Daisies had been her mother's favorite flowers because they symbolized purity and innocence. As she held the bouquet in her hands, Evelyn felt a sense of calm wash over her. This simple act of buying flowers reminded her of the values her mother instilled in her, values that often seemed lost in the fast-paced, materialistic world she lived in. With the bouquet in hand, Evelyn wandered through the streets until she stumbled upon a small cafe tucked away on a quiet corner. The cafe wasn't fancy. It had mismatched chairs, chipped paint on the walls, and a faint smell of freshly brewed coffee wafting through the air. But there was something comforting about it. Inside, the atmosphere buzzed with energy as customers chatted, laughed, and enjoyed their meals. Evelyn took a seat by the window, watching the world go by while sipping her cup of tea. As she observed the scene around her, Evelyn noticed a young waitress moving gracefully between tables. Her name tag read Clara, and she seemed to be juggling multiple tasks at once, taking orders, refilling drinks, and clearing plates, all with a smile that lit up the room. Despite the chaos, Clara handled everything with remarkable patience and grace. Evelyn couldn't help but admire her dedication. There was something about the way Clara carried herself that intrigued Evelyn. Perhaps it was the kindness in her eyes or the genuine warmth she extended to each customer. Whatever it was, Evelyn felt drawn to her. While waiting for her food, Evelyn began piecing together bits of information about Clara. She noticed how Clara paused to chat with an elderly couple seated near the counter, asking them if they needed anything else. When a child spilled juice on the floor, Clara didn't scold or rush away. Instead, she knelt down to clean it up, offering a reassuring smile to the embarrassed parents. These little moments spoke volumes about Clara's character. Evelyn realized that Clara wasn't just doing her job. She was pouring her heart into it, treating every person with care and respect. Evelyn's thoughts drifted back to her own life. Growing up in a mansion filled with servants and chauffeurs, she rarely interacted with people outside her privileged circle. Her peers often dismissed those working service jobs as unimportant, but Evelyn saw things differently. She believed everyone had a story worth hearing, struggles worth understanding. And sitting in that humble cafe, watching Clara work tirelessly, Evelyn felt a deep sense of admiration for the young woman. By the time her meal arrived, Evelyn had already decided what she wanted to do next. She glanced at the bouquet of daisies resting on the table beside her and smiled softly. Today wasn't just about remembering her mother. It was also about honoring others who embodied the same qualities her mother cherished. kindness, resilience, and selflessness. Evelyn knew exactly whom she wanted to give those flowers to. When Clara approached her table to clear the dishes, Evelyn stood up, holding the bouquet tightly in her hands. For a moment, nerves fluttered in her chest. Would Clara think this gesture was strange? Would she misunderstand Evelyn's intentions? Pushing aside her doubts, Evelyn stepped forward and extended the flowers toward Clara. "Happy Mother's Day," Evelyn said warmly, her voice steady despite the whirlwind of emotions inside her. Clara froze, her expression a mix of surprise and confusion. She looked at the flowers, then back at Evelyn, unsure of what to say. I'm not a mom," she finally managed, her voice tinged with uncertainty. Evelyn shook her head gently, her gaze unwavering. "You don't have to be one to deserve recognition today. Being kind, hardworking, and carrying so much responsibility is something worth celebrating." For a brief moment, time seemed to stand still. Clara stared at Evelyn, taken aback by the sincerity in her words. Slowly, she reached out and accepted the bouquet, her fingers brushing against Evelyn's. The touch was fleeting, but it carried a weight neither woman could fully comprehend. As Clara looked down at the daisies, her lips curved into a shy smile, and a tear glistened in the corner of her eye. This unexpected encounter marked the beginning of a connection that neither Evelyn nor Clara anticipated. Little did they know, this simple exchange would lead to a series of events that would change both their lives forever. As Clara stood there holding the bouquet of daisies, her mind raced with questions. Who was this woman? Why had she chosen to give her flowers on Mother's Day? And why did it feel like such a profoundly meaningful gesture? The cafe around them continued its usual hum of activity. Customers chatting, coffee machines hissing, plates clinking. But for Clara, everything else faded into the background. All she could focus on was the soft smile on Evelyn's face and the weight of the flowers in her hands. Clara hesitated for a moment, unsure of how to respond. She wasn't used to being acknowledged in this way. Her days were filled with serving food, cleaning tables, and ensuring customers left satisfied. It was hard work, often thankless and certainly not glamorous. Yet here was this stranger, a woman who looked like she belonged in the glossy pages of a magazine, treating her with a level of kindness that felt almost surreal. "Thank you," Clara finally said, her voice trembling slightly. "This is really unexpected. I don't even know what to say." Evelyn tilted her head, her expression thoughtful. "You don't have to say anything. Sometimes it's enough just to be seen, isn't it?" Her words struck a chord deep within Clara. For years, she had poured her energy into taking care of others, her younger siblings after their parents passed away, the customers at the cafe, and even random strangers who needed a listening ear or a helping hand. But rarely did anyone stop to acknowledge her efforts. Most people barely noticed her beyond placing their orders or asking for refills. To be recognized now, especially by someone like Evelyn, made her heart swell with emotion. "I guess you're right," Clara replied softly, clutching the bouquet tighter. "It's nice to feel seen once in a while." Evelyn nodded, her gaze steady and warm. "Everyone deserves to feel appreciated, especially on a day like today. You might not call yourself a mother, but you're doing something remarkable every single day. Taking care of people, showing up no matter how tough things get. That's the kind of strength we should celebrate." The sincerity in Evelyn's voice disarmed Clara completely. There was no trace of condescension or pity in her tone, only genuine admiration. It was clear that Evelyn meant every word she said, and that made all the difference. Clara felt a lump rise in her throat as tears threatened to spill over. She blinked rapidly, trying to compose herself before anyone noticed. This wasn't the time or place to break down, not when she still had tables to tend to and customers waiting for their orders. But Evelyn wasn't done yet. Instead of walking away after handing over the flowers, she lingered, studying Clara with an intensity that suggested she wanted to know more. "Do you mind if I ask you something?" she asked gently. Clara shrugged, still overwhelmed but curious. "Sure, go ahead." "What keeps you going?" Evelyn asked. I mean, it must be exhausting juggling everything you do. How do you stay so positive? For a brief second, Clara considered brushing off the question with a light-hearted answer. Something about caffeine or sheer determination, but something about Evelyn's presence encouraged her to open up. Maybe it was the way Evelyn listened intently, without interrupting or judging. Or maybe it was the fact that no one had ever asked her that question before. Whatever the reason, Clara decided to be honest. "It's not easy," she admitted, glancing down at the floor before meeting Evelyn's eyes again. "Some days are harder than others. When my parents died, I promised myself I'd do whatever it takes to keep my family together. My little brother and sister, they're counting on me. So I wake up every morning knowing I have to push through no matter what. Does that make sense?" Evelyn nodded slowly, her expression softening further. "It makes perfect sense. You're doing something incredible, Clara. Raising your siblings, working long hours, keeping everything together. It's a lot to carry on your shoulders. Not everyone could handle it the way you do." Clara let out a small laugh, though it was tinged with sadness. "Honestly, sometimes I wonder if I'm doing enough, if I'm failing them somehow. But then I remind myself that they're alive, they're safe, and we're making it work. That has to count for something, right?" "It counts for everything," Evelyn replied firmly. "You're giving them stability, love, and hope. Those are the most important things anyone can offer. Don't underestimate the impact you're having on their lives." Clara felt a warmth spread through her chest, easing some of the constant tension she carried. It wasn't often that someone spoke to her with such conviction, affirming her choices and sacrifices. More than anything, she needed to hear those words, to be reminded that her struggles mattered and that her efforts weren't going unnoticed. Their conversation drew curious glances from other patrons in the cafe. Some whispered among themselves, speculating about who Evelyn might be. A billionaire's daughter giving flowers to a waitress? It seemed like the plot of a movie rather than real life. But neither Evelyn nor Clara paid attention to the murmurs. They were completely absorbed in their exchange, oblivious to the world around them. Eventually, Clara glanced at the clock on the wall and sighed. "I should probably get back to work. My boss will start wondering where I am." Evelyn smiled, understandingly. "Of course, thank you for taking the time to talk to me. It means a lot." Before Clara could turn away, Evelyn added, "If you ever need a break, come sit with me. I'd love to hear more about your story." Clara hesitated, surprised by the invitation. "Are you sure? You don't have to." "I want to." Evelyn interrupted gently. "Please, consider it my way of saying thank you." Unable to resist, Clara agreed. After finishing her rounds, she joined Evelyn at a corner table, balancing a steaming cup of coffee in her hands. For the next hour, they talked freely, sharing pieces of their lives with each other. Clara told Evelyn about growing up in a tight-knit family, losing her parents too soon and stepping into the role of caregiver overnight. She spoke about the challenges of balancing two jobs, the guilt she sometimes felt when she couldn't spend enough time with her siblings, and the dreams she had tucked away for someday. In return, Evelyn opened up about her own experiences, the loneliness of growing up wealthy, the pressure to live up to her father's expectations, and the void left by her mother's passing. She confessed that despite her privileged upbringing, she often felt disconnected from the world around her. Her interactions with people like Clara reminded her of the beauty and simplicity and the importance of staying grounded. By the end of their conversation, both women felt lighter, as if a weight had been lifted off their shoulders. They had started the day as complete strangers, yet somehow they had forged a connection that transcended their differences. As they parted ways, Evelyn handed Clara a small note along with a warm hug. "Take care of yourself, okay?" she said softly. "And remember, you're stronger than you think." Clara nodded, clutching the note tightly. She didn't read it until later that evening, when she finally sat down after a long day of work. What she found inside brought fresh tears to her eyes and set into motion a chain of events that would change her life forever. Clara sat on the edge of her worn-out couch that evening, the note from Evelyn still clutched in her hand. The cafe had been unusually busy that day, and she was exhausted, physically, mentally, and emotionally. But as she stared at the small piece of paper, curiosity overcame her fatigue. Slowly, almost hesitantly, she unfolded it. What she read made her heart skip a beat. Inside the note, written in neat, elegant handwriting, were words that brought tears to her eyes. "Thank you for reminding me what true strength looks like. Here's a small token of appreciation for everything you do." Beneath those heartfelt lines was a check, an amount so large that Clara had to blink several times to process it. It was more money than she had ever seen in her life, enough to cover her family's debts, pay off medical bills, and provide stability for months to come. For a moment, Clara couldn't breathe. Her mind raced with disbelief. Was this real? Had Evelyn Hartley, the daughter of one of the richest men in the country, just given her such an incredible gift? She pinched herself to make sure she wasn't dreaming, but the weight of the check in her hand confirmed it was all too real. Overwhelmed, Clara leaned back against the couch, letting the tears flow freely. For the first time in years, she allowed herself to feel hope, a fragile yet powerful emotion she hadn't dared to embrace before. As the initial shock began to subside, Clara's thoughts turned inward. Why had Evelyn done this? Sure, they'd shared a meaningful conversation earlier, but it wasn't every day someone handed out checks worth thousands of dollars after a casual chat. Clara replayed their interaction in her mind, the way Evelyn had listened intently, asked thoughtful questions, and expressed admiration for her resilience. There was something about Evelyn's sincerity that stood out. She didn't treat Clara like a charity case or someone beneath her. Instead, she saw her as a person worthy of respect and kindness. Determined to honor Evelyn's generosity, Clara resolved not to squander the opportunity. This wasn't just money. It was a chance to break free from the cycle of stress and uncertainty that had consumed her life for so long. Sitting there in the dim light of her living room, Clara began making plans. First, she would use part of the funds to clear her family's mounting debts. Then, she'd set aside some savings for emergencies. And finally, she wanted to give back, to find a way to help others who were struggling, just as Evelyn had helped her. The next morning, Clara woke up with a renewed sense of purpose. She called her younger siblings into the kitchen and told them the news, not about the check itself, but about the fact that they wouldn't have to worry about finances for a while. Her brother Liam, barely 13, looked at her skeptically. "Are you serious?" he asked, his voice tinged with disbelief. "How did this happen?" Clara smiled softly, choosing her words carefully. "Let's just say I got lucky. Someone decided to lend us a helping hand." Her sister Emma, only 10, hugged her tightly. "Does this mean we can stop worrying about everything?" Clara nodded, brushing a strand of hair away from Emma's face. "Yes, sweetheart. We can take a deep breath now. Things are going to get better." Seeing the relief wash over her siblings' faces filled Clara with a sense of pride. They deserved this peace. They deserved a childhood without constant fear and struggle. And for the first time in years, Clara felt like she could actually give that to them. Later that week, Clara returned to work at the cafe, determined to keep moving forward. Though her circumstances had changed dramatically, she refused to let the newfound financial security alter her values or work ethic. If anything, it motivated her to push harder, knowing she had the means to create a brighter future for herself and her family. One afternoon, as she served coffee to a group of regular customers, Clara noticed an older woman sitting alone at a corner table. The woman appeared frail, her hands trembling slightly as she stirred sugar into her tea. Something about her demeanor reminded Clara of her own mother, gentle, kind, and full of quiet strength. On impulse, Clara approached her table. "Hi," Clara said warmly. "Can I get you anything else?" The woman looked up, startled by the interruption. "Oh no, thank you. I'm fine," she replied, her voice soft and shaky. Clara hesitated for a moment, then pulled out a chair and sat down. "Mind if I join you for a minute? You seem like you could use some company." The woman blinked, surprised by the offer, but eventually nodded. I suppose that would be nice. They talked for nearly half an hour, sharing stories about their lives. The woman, whose name was Margaret, revealed that she had recently lost her husband and was finding it difficult to adjust to life alone. She missed having someone to talk to, someone who cared about her well-being. By the end of their conversation, both women felt lighter, as if the simple act of connecting had eased some of their burdens. When Clara returned home that evening, she realized how much joy she found in helping others, even in small ways. Whether it was listening to Margaret's story or ensuring her siblings felt safe and loved, these moments gave her life meaning. Inspired by Evelyn's example, Clara decided to channel her gratitude into action. She started researching local charities and organizations that supported single mothers and families in need. One particular initiative caught her eye: a scholarship fund designed to help single mothers pursue higher education. The idea resonated deeply with Clara. Growing up, she had dreamed of attending college and becoming a teacher, but life had other plans. Now she saw an opportunity to support women who shared her aspirations but lacked the resources to achieve them. With a portion of the money Evelyn had given her, Clara donated a significant sum to the scholarship fund. To her surprise, the organization reached out to thank her personally and invited her to attend their annual gala as a guest speaker. Nervous but excited, Clara accepted the invitation. On the night of the event, she stood on stage in front of a room full of people, many of whom were strangers. Taking a deep breath, she began to speak. "A few weeks ago, I received an unexpected gift from someone who believed in me when I didn't. Believe in myself," she said, her voice steady despite the butterflies in her stomach. "That act of kindness changed my life, and it inspired me to pay it forward. Tonight, I want to remind each of you that even the smallest gestures of compassion can have a ripple effect. You never know how far your kindness might reach." Her speech earned a standing ovation, leaving many attendees visibly moved. Among them was Evelyn, who had quietly attended the gala without telling Clara. As the crowd dispersed, Evelyn approached Clara, her eyes shining with pride. "You were amazing up there," Evelyn said, giving her a warm hug. Clara laughed, shaking, her head in disbelief. "I can't believe you're here. I didn't think I'd see you again." "Well, I couldn't miss this," Evelyn replied with a grin. "You've already done so much with what I gave you. I'm proud of you, Clara." The two women embraced once more, their bond stronger than ever. In that moment, Clara realized that Evelyn's gift had been about more than just money. It was about trust, empowerment, and the belief that ordinary people could do extraordinary things. Together, they had sparked a chain reaction of kindness that showed no signs of stopping. And as Clara walked out of the gala that night, surrounded by newfound friends and supporters, she knew one thing for certain: the best was yet to come. The ripple effects of Clara's decision to pay it forward began almost immediately. After her speech at the scholarship gala, word of her generosity spread like wildfire. Local newspapers picked up her story, highlighting how a struggling waitress had turned an unexpected act of kindness into something transformative. The media coverage brought attention not only to Clara, but also to the scholarship fund she had contributed to. Donations poured in from people inspired by her actions. Some gave large sums while others sent smaller amounts, each accompanied by heartfelt notes expressing their admiration. Clara was overwhelmed by the response. She hadn't expected her small contribution to spark such widespread support. At first, she worried that the sudden spotlight might overshadow Evelyn's role in everything. After all, none of this would have been possible without the check Evelyn had slipped her on that fateful Mother's Day. But when reporters asked about the origins of her good fortune, Clara made sure to credit Evelyn's kindness without revealing too many personal details. "Someone believed in me when I needed it most," she told them simply. "Now I want to pass that belief on to others." Evelyn watched the news unfold from afar, quietly pleased with how things were turning out. She had always hoped her gesture would inspire Clara to dream bigger and reach further, but she never imagined the impact would extend so far. Seeing Clara step into the role of a community leader filled Evelyn with pride. It reinforced her belief that true wealth wasn't measured in bank accounts or possessions. It was reflected in the lives you touched and the positive changes you helped create. Meanwhile, Clara continued to balance her responsibilities at the cafe with her growing involvement in charitable work. Her siblings noticed the change in her demeanor. Where once she seemed weighed down by stress and exhaustion, now there was a lightness about her. Liam often joked that his sister was becoming famous, pointing out articles online or mentions on social media. Emma, ever the optimist, declared that Clara was destined to be a superhero. Though Clara laughed off their teasing, she couldn't deny that something inside her had shifted. For the first time in years, she felt hopeful, not just for herself but for the future of those around her. One evening, as Clara sat at the kitchen table going over paperwork for the scholarship fund, Liam plopped down across from her. "Hey, sis," he said, leaning forward conspiratorially. "Do you think Mom and Dad would be proud of us? Of what we're doing?" Clara paused, setting down her pen. The question caught her off guard, stirring memories of late-night conversations with her parents about dreams and legacies. She smiled softly, reaching across the table to ruffle Liam's hair. "I think they'd be really proud," she replied. "They taught us to take care of each other and to help people whenever we can. That's exactly what we're doing." Liam nodded thoughtfully, seemingly satisfied with her answer. But Clara's mind lingered on the conversation long after her brother went to bed. It reminded her of something Evelyn had said during their meeting at the cafe, that being a mother wasn't just about having children, but about nurturing others and making sacrifices out of love. In that moment, Clara realized she was carrying on her parents' legacy in her own way. By supporting her siblings and helping strangers through the scholarship fund, she was embodying the same values her parents had instilled in her. As weeks turned into months, Clara became more involved in the charity world. She attended fundraisers, spoke at events, and collaborated with organizations focused on education and family welfare. Each new experience broadened her perspective and deepened her commitment to giving back. Along the way, she encountered countless individuals whose stories mirrored her own. People who had faced unimaginable hardships yet refused to give up. Their resilience inspired her to keep pushing forward, even when the challenges felt overwhelming. One day, while volunteering at a community center, Clara met a young woman named Maria. Like Clara, Maria was raising her younger siblings alone after losing both parents. She worked 2 jobs to make ends meet while pursuing a nursing degree part-time. When Clara heard Maria's story, she felt an instant connection. They spent hours talking, sharing advice and encouragement. Before leaving, Clara handed Maria a flyer for the scholarship fund. "This could be your chance," Clara said earnestly. "You deserve to chase your dreams, Maria. Don't let anything stand in your way." Maria hesitated, tears welling up in her eyes. "I don't know how to thank you," she whispered. "You don't have to," Clara replied with a warm smile. "Just promise me one thing. If you get the scholarship, you'll pay it forward someday. That's all I ask." Maria nodded, clutching the flyer tightly. Watching her walk away, Clara felt a surge of gratitude for Evelyn, for her parents, and for the countless people who had shown her kindness along the way. Every act of generosity created a chain reaction, touching lives in ways no one could predict. Back at home, Clara found herself thinking about Evelyn again. Though they hadn't spoken since the gala, Clara often wondered how she was doing. She decided to write her a letter, pouring her thoughts onto paper in the quiet hours of the night. "Dear Evelyn, I hope this letter finds her well. I've been meaning to write to you for a while now, but every time I sit down to do it, I struggle to find the right words. How do you thank someone for changing your life? For believing in you when you didn't believe in yourself? Your gift did more than ease my burdens. It gave me the courage to dream again. Because of you, I was able to clear our debts, provide stability for my siblings, and start giving back to others. The scholarship fund has grown beyond what I ever imagined, thanks to the generosity of people inspired by your example. But more than anything, you reminded me that kindness is powerful. A single act of compassion can set off a ripple effect that touches countless lives, including mine. I'll never forget that. Thank you, Evelyn. Not just for the flowers or the check, but for seeing me, for reminding me that everyone has value, no matter where they come from or what they do. You may not realize it, but you changed the course of my life. And I'll spend the rest of my days trying to live up to the example you set. With gratitude, Clara. When Evelyn received the letter a few days later, she read it multiple times, tears streaming down her face. It wasn't the eloquence of Clara's words that moved her. It was the sincerity, the raw emotion behind them. Evelyn had always known her gesture was meaningful, but hearing its impact articulated so beautifully left her humbled and grateful. That moment, Evelyn understood something profound. True fulfillment came not from wealth or privilege, but from connecting with others and making a difference in their lives. Her encounter with Clara had been a reminder of why she valued kindness above all else. And though their paths had diverged, their shared journey had enriched both their lives in ways neither could have anticipated. Little did they know, their story was far from over. As Clara continued to inspire others, and Evelyn remained committed to spreading empathy, their actions would leave an indelible mark on the world, a testament to the enduring power of human connection and compassion. Years passed, and the bond between Evelyn and Clara remained steadfast, even though they lived vastly different lives. Their paths crossed occasionally at charity events, fundraisers, or quiet coffee shop reunions, but their connection transcended physical meetings. It was a friendship built not on shared experiences but on mutual respect, gratitude, and a shared belief in the transformative power of kindness. Clara's life had undergone remarkable changes since that Mother's Day encounter. With her family's debts cleared and financial stability restored, she was finally able to focus on her dreams. She enrolled in night classes, balancing work at the cafe with her studies. Her determination paid off when she graduated as a teacher, a goal she'd held close to her heart for years. Teaching became more than just a profession. It was her way of nurturing young minds, much like how Evelyn's gesture had nurtured her spirit during a dark time. Her involvement with the scholarship fund continued to grow too. What started as a modest contribution blossomed into a thriving initiative that helped hundreds of single mothers pursue higher education. Clara traveled across the country, speaking at conferences and sharing her story. Her message was simple, yet powerful. No matter where you come from or what challenges you face, your actions can create ripples of change. One act of kindness can inspire countless others. Evelyn watched from afar as Clara transformed into a beacon of hope for so many people. Though they didn't see each other often, Evelyn stayed updated through news articles, social media posts, and occasional letters. Each update filled her with pride, not because she wanted recognition, but because she saw the tangible impact of their combined efforts. The world felt a little brighter, knowing there were people like Clara out there, spreading light in corners that desperately needed it. For Evelyn, meeting Clara had been a turning point. It reminded her of why she valued humility and empathy above all else. Inspired by Clara's journey, Evelyn began dedicating more time to philanthropy. She founded an organization called Everyday Heroes, which celebrated ordinary individuals, making extraordinary contributions to their communities. From nurses working overtime during pandemics to teachers going above and beyond for their students, Evelyn ensured these unsung heroes received the recognition they deserved. The organization quickly gained traction, hosting annual awards ceremonies attended by celebrities, politicians, and everyday citizens alike. At its core, Everyday Heroes aimed to shift societal values, reminding people that true greatness wasn't measured by wealth or fame, but by compassion and service. Evelyn often credited Clara as her inspiration, though she kept her role behind the scenes. To Evelyn, this wasn't about personal accolades. It was about amplifying voices that otherwise might go unheard. One evening, 5 years after their initial meeting, Evelyn received an invitation to speak at a special event hosted by Clara's scholarship fund. The occasion marked the launch of a new mentorship program designed to pair struggling families with volunteers who could guide them through tough times. Evelyn accepted immediately, eager to support Clara's latest endeavor. On the night of the event, Evelyn arrived at the grand hall dressed simply, blending in with the crowd rather than standing out. As she took her seat among attendees, she scanned the room searching for Clara. When their eyes met, Clara waved enthusiastically, motioning for Evelyn to join her backstage. They embraced warmly, both women overwhelmed with emotion. "You look amazing," Evelyn said, smiling as she stepped back to take Clara in. Gone was the weary waitress juggling endless responsibilities. In her place stood a confident, radiant woman radiating purpose. "So do you," Clara replied, her voice thick with emotion. "I still can't believe everything you've done. For me, for my family, for so many others." Evelyn shook her head gently. "It's not about me. You're the one inspiring everyone here tonight. I'm just grateful to have played a small part in your journey." As the lights dimmed and the audience settled into their seats, Clara stepped onto the stage to deliver the opening remarks. She spoke passionately about resilience, community, and the importance of lifting each other up. Then, she paused mid-speech, looking directly at Evelyn seated in the front row. "I wouldn't be standing here today if it weren't for someone very special," Clara said, her voice steady but filled with emotion. "Years ago, a stranger walked into my cafe and gave me flowers on Mother's Day. That simple act of kindness changed my life forever. It reminded me that no matter how hard things get, there's always hope, and always people willing to help if we let them." The crowd erupted into applause, turning to look at Evelyn, who blushed furiously despite herself. Clara gestured for her to join her on stage. Reluctantly, Evelyn made her way up, receiving a standing ovation as she approached. "Clara, thank you," Clara whispered before addressing the audience again. "This is Evelyn Hartley, the woman who believed in me when I couldn't believe in myself. But don't mistake her for just a billionaire's daughter. Evelyn is proof that privilege, when used wisely, can heal wounds and build bridges. She taught me that kindness isn't about grand gestures. It's about seeing people, truly seeing them, and reminding them they matter." Evelyn took the microphone, visibly moved. "Clara is too kind," she began, earning laughter from the crowd. "But she's right about one thing. None of us succeeds alone. We're shaped by the people we meet, the stories we hear, and the love we give and receive. Clara has inspired me to live with greater intention, to use my resources not for myself, but for others. And I hope her example inspires all of you to do the same." The evening ended with heartfelt speeches, emotional testimonials, and a renewed sense of purpose among attendees. People left vowing to pay it forward, carrying Clara and Evelyn's message into their own communities. For both women, the event served as a reminder of how far they'd come and how much further they could go together. In the years that followed, Clara and Evelyn remained pillars of strength for each other. Clara continued teaching and mentoring, while Evelyn expanded everyday heroes globally. They stayed connected through regular phone calls, emails, and occasional visits. Their friendship proved that relationships formed out of genuine human connection could endure despite differences in background or circumstance. Looking back, neither woman could pinpoint exactly when their brief encounter at the cafe evolved into something deeper. Perhaps it was the moment Evelyn handed Clara the bouquet of daisies, or maybe it was the realization that they shared a common desire to make the world a better place. Whatever the reason, their bond illustrated the beauty of serendipity, two strangers brought together by fate, whose lives intertwined in ways neither could have imagined. As Clara tucked her siblings into bed one night, now teenagers dreaming of bright futures, she reflected on her journey. Life hadn't been easy, but every challenge had led her to this moment, a home filled with laughter, a career she loved, and friendships that defined her. Across town, Evelyn sat on her balcony, gazing at the city skyline. She thought about Clara, the scholarship fund, and the countless lives touched by their collective efforts. Their story wasn't just about generosity or gratitude. It was about the profound impact of seeing and valuing one another. Through a bouquet of flowers and heartfelt words, Evelyn and Clara reminded the world of an eternal truth. Kindness, no matter how small, has the power to transform lives. And sometimes the simplest acts leave the most lasting legacies.